Backable people are people who are able to walk into a room and they're able to really get us to take a chance on them. And the trick of it is that it often is when they don't have the obvious idea or they're not the obvious choice for a leadership role, we still want to take a chance on them. And initially the term backable, I had seen used in the venture capital world, I had seen used in the startup world, but as it turns out, there's not a single person that I know that isn't trying to become backable in some way. Because with whatever change you're trying to create, whether that be with your career, whether that be with your community, whether that be inside your own company, we need other people to come along for the ride. We need hiring managers. We need bosses. We need decision makers. We need team members. Sometimes we need investors, partners, shareholders, even friends and family to rally around us, even sometimes when what we're trying to do isn't completely obvious. So that's why I decided to really spend the past 5 years writing this book. And the way that the book is organized, Backable is organized, is really around 7 steps, 7 qualities of backable people. And again, these are learned qualities. These aren't natural, innate, but they're things that they learned over time, which is great because it means that any one of us can become backable. And what I want to do is, what I'll do is I'll run through these 7 very, very quickly for you. And then what I want to do is dig into about 3 of them with some of the time. Then we'll open it up and we'll have a fun conversation. I'm really looking forward to that. So the first is to convince yourself first. Convince yourself first. And we're actually going to talk about that one. So we'll come back to that. The second is to cast a central character. Cast a central character. And that's one we can talk about during Q&A, but it really gets into the substance of storytelling. How do we tell good stories that have both story and substance combined? The third is to find an earned secret. So this is something that you have gone out into the world and you have found through your own experience. And then you've brought that insight into the room. And what I've found is that great pitches, great presentations tend to be based on somewhat of a surprising insight. The fourth is to play exhibition matches. Exhibition matches are low stakes practice sessions before we get into these high stakes moments. And we actually are going to talk about that one in a moment. The fifth is to flip outsiders into insiders. And we're going to talk about that one as well. In fact, that's the first one that we're going to talk about. But how do we get people to feel like they are insiders in our careers, insiders in the things that we're trying to build and in our ideas? We're going to talk about that. The sixth one is to make it feel inevitable. So instead of just talking about why an idea is new and why an idea is exciting, how do we show that an idea is actually inevitable? And that plays into this idea that, as human beings, we aren't necessarily risk takers. We like to play it safe if we can. So how do we start to make the case that the idea isn't just new, but it's actually inevitable? The change is inevitably going to occur. And then the seventh is to let go of your ego, which, again, getting back to the Eastern philosophy side of things, but also thinking about, how do we approach ourselves when we walk inside a room? One of the best pieces of advice that a coach out in Silicon Valley gives to founders and to big company executives is that when you walk into a room, you're going to feel like the spotlight is on you. But what you really want to do is you want to take that spotlight and you want to shift that to something else. That can be your product. That can be the person you're trying to serve. But it's got to be about something other than you. And you have to put yourself in that mindset before you walk into the room.